purpose of this presentation is to provide a user-friendly resource and general guidance to the contracting officer's representatives who compile the necessary elements of a purchase request package. This presentation is targeted primarily towards Corps who seek supplies and simple services. This presentation highlights best practices and notes pitfalls and common mistakes in the purchase request process. The basic obligations of a public servant allow only authorized individuals the right to bind the government. This is a responsibility that comes with many rules, regulations, and policies. So the key for the Corps is to compile the package with technical expertise and document it well and get the right information to the right people. The contracting officer is the only authority that can bind the federal government. The contracting officer may choose to delegate some duties to the contracting officer's representative. All duties will be in writing. All requirements packages contain a few basic ingredients. These ingredients are description, funding, independent government estimate, recommended sources, and if justified, a brand name justification or a justification and approval for limiting competition. So let's talk about each of these ingredients. The requirement is referred to by a variety of terms: purchase description, statement of work, performance work statement, or statement of objectives. For small purchases, we will primarily use the term purchase description or statement of work. The purpose of the description is to ensure the requirement describes what is to be accomplished, not how to accomplish it. By describing what is to be accomplished through a functional or performance description, you will support the government's goals of acquiring commercial items and promoting full and open competition. The Competition and Contracting Act requires, with rare exception, that all work using federal taxpayer dollars must be competed. In other words, it is illegal to award a contract or purchase order without competition. A requirement description must be for the minimum needs of the government and clearly support the mission of the Bureau and Department. In addition, an acceptable description contains answers to the following questions. What is it? Why is it needed? Who is it for? When is it required? How many are needed? Where should it be delivered to? How long is it needed? And are there any special requirements? And as I've stepped over this, here are some examples of each. The second and third elements of the PR package are funding, and that's based upon the independent government cost estimate. A fully funded document signed by a certifying funds official is required. This funding document certifies the program office has a bona fide need and proper funding is available and committed to the Corps' requested supplier service. The funding document should be based upon the IGE. The IGE provides a price estimate for a product or service. The complexity of the estimating technique is dependent upon the complexity of the procurement. An IGE must be provided with every procurement request package as one means by which the contracting officer can determine price reasonableness prior to obligating taxpayer dollars. An IGE can be determined through a number of ways. A few are historical pricing, what did the government pay last year, an average, product X, Y, and Z are comparable, let's add the 3, divide it by 3, and we can come up with an average. Or, what have other agencies or departments paid for the same or similar thing? An IGE is not a quote from a contractor. The fourth item is recommended sources. The program office should include recommended sources. However, the contracting officer is a responsible authority for the contracting process, and the contracting officer is the one who will select who the contract is awarded to, if anybody. This decision is based upon the contractor's response to a price that is most advantageous to the government or other trade-off factors, and conforms to the requirement, laws, policies, and sound business practices as applicable. Potential sources should enhance competition. If the customer is restricting competition, the PR must contain the appropriate justification. With limited statutory exceptions, a contracting officer must promote and provide for full and open competition in soliciting offers and awarding government contracts and purchase orders. A justification for use of other and full and open competition must contain specific facts and rationale to justify soliciting from only one or a limited number of sources. There are 7 exceptions, but the 3 are most used regularly are only one responsible source can supply, and that might be a manufacturer who can only work and provide service on a copy machine. The second most used is unusual and compelling urgency, and that must cause serious damage to the government for it to be acceptable. An example might be if a roof comes off and there might be some damage to the occupied building. And finally, authorized by statute, which might mean we award to an 8A company. Furthermore, an acquisition that is based upon a brand name, description, or other purchase description to specify the particular brand name, no matter how many different resources we go to, is not considered open competition. However, if we use the term and justify that term, but we describe that term in its salient characteristics so it can be brand name or equal, then we do not have to use a justification for that. Program contracting officer representatives should keep in mind it is improper to base a justification for other than full and open competition on the following factors. Gold plating, which, as I mentioned earlier, the government is only allowed to purchase for its minimum needs and to meet its actual mission needs. Second, cost of competition. The cost reduction achieved through competition generally offsets or overshadows any additional costs that may be associated with the competition. Third, opinion or preferences. Requests for a limitation of sources should always be accompanied by supporting factual evidence. And a fourth one that we may not base a justification on is duplication of work. The sole fact that some minor duplication of earlier efforts would be required is inadequate. The request and justification must show specifically the expected cost of duplication in terms of time and dollars. The technical justification restricting competition must be prepared by the requesting activity and be part of the requirement package. The contracting officer determines if the technical justification is sufficient. Furthermore, the contracting officer is available to provide assistance and examples to the program core. So we have the top pitfalls of why there are procurement delays. You can see here that the justification for other than full and open competition is very time-consuming. If a core comes in and changes the procurement at the last minute, then we almost have to start all over again. And inadequate funding is also a prime issue. The reasons that things process quickly are that we have competition. The Corps has worked closely with a CO, contract specialists, during the process before a PR has even been submitted to the acquisitions office. The requirement description or statement of work is very well written. It's fully funded, and we're provided a complete purchase request package. These are the basics of a purchase request package. Without a complete package, the contracting officer is not able to start the procurement. If you have any questions or would like further information on market research, the statement of work, or anything else within this project or within the acquisition process, please contact an acquisition professional near you.